there is a lot of inclination or people driving it towards investing in, say, a mutual fund and stocks.
Honestly, if you ask, if everyone go for rent, then who will buy the property? Someone has to buy the property, right?
People sitting with Excel sheets and trying to define
Yeah.
the what makes more sense. There's so many factors that people have to consider while you're making these decisions. Hi, this is Aman, your host for 100 Feet Road. Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be talking about one of the most debated topics in real estate, which is rent versus buy. Okay. So, hi sir. How are you doing today?
Great, fantastic.
I have called you on another Saturday.
Yeah.
And so we had an amazing expo, and we got phenomenal response.
Yeah.
That was also one of the reasons why we did not come out with an episode sooner. We were all occupied with that, but we had an amazing, amazing expo. So one of the common things that we, while interacting with clients in the expo, was, should they buy an apartment or should they rent it?
Yeah.
And that was one of the most common things a lot of people asked of different age groups.
Yeah.
Which probably triggered our thoughts also to have an interaction on this. So what's your opinion? You were probably one of those people who have interacted the most in that expo. So what was your take on or responses to these questions that you faced? Also, before we move ahead, we had a lot of feedback regarding the background music. So there will be surely no background music in this episode. Thank you for your feedback. So moving ahead with the conversation.
Well, Aman, I agree with the viewers. The background music, even I didn't like. So that's good. People have told that, and we are agreeing to that. Regarding the expo, of course, it's a phenomenal expo. We did fantastic. We had almost 2,000 plus visitors. We did some great closures. But you're right. Actually, we have maximum people asking about this trending topic, I'll say. So of course, Bangalore is getting a lot of limelight, maybe for the wrong reason, especially for last 1.5 2 years. Rental, I mean, everyone, there are so many memes around Bangalore rentals and Bangalore landlords. Probably, for fun it's okay, but sometimes, it goes beyond reality. So I fully agree, the kind of questions which are coming or kind of comments which are coming on social media about rental in Bangalore, and then the question whether buy or rent. So I fully agree, so what happens, buy and rent is a very old topic which is there like from last ages. I can say ages. Yeah. So definitely, it's a trending in thing. Not only real estate, I'll tell you, buy versus lazy is there for any asset. Mm-hmm. So people, I know when a lot of people do calculation and assess whether they want to buy a car or rent a car. Depends upon their travel plan on a month or a quarterly or yearly basis. So it's a very, very I'll say organic topic, and of course people should think about it. Real estate being a expensive asset, of course it needs little bit more thought process. You need some more time, and of course depends upon people how they want to take it. So I fully agree. We had a long discussion with the clients on the buy versus rent, from all status. Like there were young kids, young people, professionals who were there. There were a lot of young professionals who were asking these questions, young married couples who were there, as well as people who have just started family or have some mid or young kids, as well as senior citizens. So we have all kind of clients who were coming and asking or debating or discussing about buy versus rent. It's a very interesting topic. So I'm glad we have taken this topic. So definitely it's a good topic, and we'll try and see whatever we can give. So whatever feedback we told to the client based on their questions in the context in which they were asking, we on the expo, during the expo we responded, and we'll try and cover more during the discussion today.
So there was a different age group in each segment. While we thought about this episode, that was one of the things that was there, because when we did our research on this topic, one of the most common things I found was people sitting with Excel sheets and trying to define what makes more sense.
Yeah.
If you was looking at data and you can make certain decisions, but one thing I felt was missing was where there's so much apart from that Excel sheet that is there. There's so many factors that people have to consider.
Yeah.
Right. So there's an emotional, there's a financial, there's a career stage level of while you're making these decisions.
Sure.
So when we were planning for this, we thought we would structure it into age group in an age group concept rather. So so there are different phases in life. Of course, we're not talking about 0 to 18, student life
Yeah.
of our lives. But then moving ahead from there, where 18 to 35, where a majority of our population in India, which is almost 45 to 50% of the population that we have, is in that age group.
Yeah.
And today, India being the young country, we are moving towards more literacy and all of that
Yeah.
that is coming with age. Uh, Now at this age where we are trying to develop our careers, we are trying. So there are two stages that I see ideally. One is developing our careers, and a major life decision, which is getting married.
Yeah.
So being one of those people in that segment itself, right? So this is something that is very difficult to make your mind on.
Yeah.
And when I'm evaluating, looking at those Excel sheets, it wasn't completely making sense to me.
Sure. Yeah.
So I wanted to understand your perspective on this as well. So for that age group, why would someone rent? Why would someone buy?
Yeah.
So
So I'll tell you, let's start from the fundamental, what is rent and why rent is required. So mostly, like you mentioned, 45 to 50% of the population, roughly around, you can say 60 crore people in India are in that age bracket, out of which even if you take 10% will be probably in urban or developed cities. I mean, I'm just taking a very small number. It will be more than that, but I'm just taking, even if you take top 10 cities, it will cross 10 to 12 crores number. So you can say around that age bracket people are living in those cities. I can also tell you, of course, there will be people who are born and brought up in metro cities like Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Delhi, Bombay, Pune. But there are a lot of people who are coming from other cities, smaller towns. And for them, these metro cities are not the first home. So they are basically moving mostly for job or education purpose. Education anyway I'm living, because mostly it's a separate thing. They will be staying in college hostels or separate. They may also take rent, but that's not a major segment. But the people who are working and they're coming from different cities to metro cities, they are the people who will have the first requirement for rent. I fully understand. We interact with a lot of clients. We do business, so we know what their requirements are. People who are coming to new city for their first job or second job. Maybe you can say, if we further classify, probably people in the age bracket of 20 to 25. Those are the people who are just graduated or maybe having 1 or 2 years of experience, and they're migrating from different cities. They are looking for rent. Why they rent? Simply, there are 2 3 reasons you can say. First of all, of course, they don't know whether how the city will treat them and how they will get response in the treat. So whether they are not sure whether they'll be staying in that city for long. They're not sure whether the company in which they're joining, how good or bad the company will react to them, how they will serve. So they are also figuring it out. That's number one. Secondly, of course, even if they are sure they want to live in that city or want to work for that company, it's a dream company they were aspiring throughout their education. Still, financial needs. Not everyone will have a support from family who can pay some money, a down payment to buy a house or something. So maybe people don't have that kind of financial bandwidth also to buy a house. So that's the first segment. So of course, for them, I mean, I think you don't have to think. Probably rent is the best thing. They can go and they can take a property on rent, and we do it day in day out. For them, actually, it makes sense because they also will take some time to understand the city, adapt to the city, to the culture. It's very different. We see on a day-to-day basis, people take some time to adapt to the culture. Looks very easy, but it's not. I know.
I'm
So
one of those
yeah,
people.
so that's how it is. So for them, I don't think that's the question, that's the dilemma, that's not there at all. But once people cross 25, 27 till 30, 35, so that segment, which also a big segment, then more or less they are clear, what they are looking at. Now for them, I know a lot of and social media platform across sectors and categories, a lot of experts are there who are advising to go for rental, and because the rental yields are less, they are saying you can rent at 2-3% of the capital value, which is makes sense, and you can invest that money in some other place. That's an interesting it's an interesting take. I fully agree, but I mean, honestly, if you ask, if everyone go for rent, then who will buy the property? Someone has to buy the property, right? So, and people who are buying the property are not aware. You can't say they don't know this logic. Of course they know. There are intricate values in that. So I fully agree the rental yields are less, maybe 2 to 4%. But then we are discounting one big factor. So unlike maybe a asset like car, which is a depreciating asset, the moment you buy a car, next day it's down by 10%, 15% value. People still buy cars. Of course, people have option to rent a cab also. Like if I ask you, if you get an option, you have a car, right? You own a car. If a company tell you, okay, I will pick you from your home sharp at 9 o'clock and you'll be get drop assured for whatever days you want, 25, 30 days a month, and they'll pick in the evening and drop you to home assured. Everything is assured. Financially on Excel, as you mentioned, it will make sense.
Yeah.
I can prove. People have done calculation. It makes sense to rent a car. Still people buy car.
True.
It's a different value, right? So the perception of the buying or renting is very different. So I think it depends upon how you perceive the rental value. The moment your perception of the rental value crosses a threshold value, whether it's a car or real estate, it makes sense to buy the asset, whether it's a car or a real estate. In real estate, the yield, if you say people say 2 to 4%, they forget about the appreciation. The capital price also goes up. Of course, I'm not saying every property will appreciate. You have to be very careful in terms of which property you are buying, whether you're buying for yourself or for investment. So if you do little bit of research, I'm not saying you should spend full time in research, but a lot of information is available online, a lot of data is available online. If you are a little bit smart and you understand the dynamics and you study that dynamics for maybe 1 year, 2 year max, you'll be able to make a decision where to invest. So there is a yield which is 2 to 4%. Then there is a capital appreciation which will be at least 5 to 6%. So overall, actually, if you add, the return on investment is a sum of rental yield plus capital appreciation. So that overall probably will get better. So the decision of whether to rent or to buy purely depends upon, as you mentioned, age bracket. So at what age you are paying what rent. On a thumb rule, people normally look at anything which is in the range of 10 to 20% of their rent salary as rent.
Okay.
That's acceptable. So I'm just giving an example.
10 to 20%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Giving a broad range because it depends upon the interest also. Someone want a fancy house, even if his salary is low. Depends,
Yeah.
Like they want a better society. So I know we have rented to bachelors who are straight out of the college, and I'm just saying, let's say their salary is maybe they're getting at a 6 lakh package, so 50,000 per month average. But they still want a apartment which will cost 20,000, so which is more than their 50%, right? So almost 40% of this thing. But they want, because they want to use the facilities like the gym, the swimming pool, the amenities. For them, it's better to have that amenities. They want to use it. For them, the intricate value or perception of the rental is not only using the house. If they take a gym membership, that will cost something. If they want to go to a club, it will cost something. If they want to go to swimming pool classes, it will cost something. So I think it depends upon the perceived value of the rental. It's not only renting a house. Nowadays, it's not just the house, it's a community. The kind of network you make, the kind of connection you make. We know so many people, like from same company, some 20 people will take in same community because they have their own cohort. So they have their own group. So they will have work related discussion, personal discussion, they will have fun together, they will stay together. So it's a cohort, it's a community which they are looking at. So it's not the question of only renting yield of an apartment. It's an overall package. And it makes sense, if you ask anyone who is in that, we all have been to that age and we have seen that, we enjoy socializing. Right. It's not like I'm leaving few segments. Mostly, I like to believe human like socializing. Of course, there are people who don't want to socialize. They have their own personal things. They want to do research or study or whatever. That's a different thing. But majority of the people would like to socialize, and they like to socialize beyond office hours also, because in office, of course, everyone is busy. So to socialize in a new city where you don't have anyone, and you can't go to hotel or pub every day. There is a financial implication. So there is a cost attached to that. So for that, I think the perceived value of rental is very important. So I always tell, you should decide which property you want to, or which community you want to take. Now, for that age bracket, what you mentioned, if you're looking at, let's say 50,000, 20,000 is paying for some reason, like interestingly, what happened post-COVID, suddenly so much demand was there and supply was less. The same property, the landowner is asking for maybe 25, 30,000. His threshold is increased. Right. Then he is ready to live in that property, but his perceived value of rental is not 30,000. Not only because of financial implication, because he's staying in the same property, the facilities are not changed. Yeah. It also depends upon market dynamics. So, for example, if you are staying in a property and the landlord wants you to increase the rental, then you have to also look at how many people are there who will pay that kind of rental. It's a perceived value.
Right.
If you feel you are matching that, then I've seen people actually agreeing to high rental with the landlord because they know the kind of utility which it will get.
So,
But then, yeah.
So one of the things that we had a discussion on
Yeah.
sometime back in one of our older conversations was how the rental values, because you brought
Yeah.
the COVID segment as well, where the
Sorry.
demand increased so much, which increased the rental value quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I probably asked you this question also. But why wouldn't someone probably just buy a property instead of
Yeah.
paying a 80 or 90,000 rupees rental
Yeah.
for a 2 BHK or a 3 BHK in Bangalore? Right. So you had explained me this theory where till the time the rental value does not exceed the standard EMI value or something of that sort,
Yeah.
uh, then that's when you decide to take. That's what you probably mean by the threshold.
Threshold, yeah. So what I was saying is basically the moment you realize, sorry, the rental value is coming closer to the kind of EMI it may take the same property asset. So it works both ways, right? From landlord perspective or investor perspective also, if a market is getting more rental, it goes hand in hand. Rent and sale price go hand in hand, or capital price. So if the capital price is high, there will be more demand for rent because not many people can buy that property. So there will be more demand for rent. So rent will be typically, as you said, 2 to 4% yield. Now, as and when time will pass, the rent will increase.
Right.
The rent will increase, the yield will go 3%, 4%, closer to 5%, maybe it may go closer to 6% also. That time, the rental to the capital price can go as high as 30-35% also. I mean, salary. So the rental to salary may cross that number. So when your salary and the rental ratio, the rental is crossing 30-35%, 40% mark organically, then maybe people start thinking about buying a property. It makes sense. That time there will be more demand for purchase. Because there is a more demand for purchase, the capital price will increase. Capital price will increase, automatically yield will come down.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the rate of growth of rental is higher, sometimes the rate of growth of capital price is higher.
Right.
It's a cash 24 situation, right? So cash 22 situation. So it is like one is following other. So it depends upon how you are chasing and at what stage you are. If you are in a market where there's so much demand for rental and capital pricing is attractive, it's better to buy.
Yeah. Makes sense.
But rest assured that stage will not stay longer. 100% I can tell you. The moment the rentals are going beyond a threshold, the capital price will start increasing.
Okay. Fair point.
Because it's equilibrium. So the market will try to keep the equilibrium closer to 2 to 4% yield because the capital appreciation is also included. It will never happen that you will only have one rental yield increasing and capital appreciation keeping stagnant. It will never happen. It will catch each other. Yeah, it will catch each other. Yeah.
Okay. So now so when we are talking about this age group, so at what stage? So we were talking about why right now. The next would be when to take that decision.
Yeah.
To say if I'm renting, if I have to move to buy, or if I am thinking of buying, I should stick to rent.
Yeah.
So the when part of
Yeah.
at this age group, where again
Sure.
people are in working, building their careers, or getting married in that phase of period. So what would be your suggestion on in terms of when should they think about taking the decision to buy versus this thing?
I understand. So the classic scenario is, the ideal scenario is, and what is also the Mediterranean scenario is, when you have enough money to put the down payment. So normally what happens, you will take a loan from a bank for a home loan, like because there are a lot of benefits of taking home loan. You get subsidies or tax subsidies for interest payment and principal repayment. So they are benefits. So mostly people will take home loan, but then home loan can only be availed up to anywhere between, let's say, 70 to 80%. In very very rare cases 85% also, but mostly 70 to 80% is highest. So when you have 20 to 30% money for down payment and some extra money for some extra contingencies, let's say anything which suddenly comes, you can't
fund.
emergency fund. So when you have enough money to save for 6 months as well as for down payment, I think that's the best time you can buy a good deal. You can buy a good real estate. Ideally, people start doing that. So it can't be, you can't work on it. Of course, you can't save 30% or 40% of the capital price just like that, right? You have to work towards it. There has to be planning for it. You have to start consciously saving money for buying an asset. It will take 1 year, 2 year, depends upon the kind of salaries people are getting. So it will take some time, let's say to 1 to 3 years or 4 years, to save that amount of money. Once you're ready with that, then I think you should start exploring.
So, thanks to the lot of conversations that we've had before, I have in the last 1 or 2 years, I have started thinking about the frugal lifestyle where I do not, overspend on things and try to, plan this
Plan the things,
side
yeah.
of
Yeah.
things. It makes complete sense to me because this is where I am in right now, and
Yeah.
I'm planning to take a house for various reasons that I have
Correct.
myself as well. But when I'm trying to do that, this is one of the processes that I'm thinking of. That makes complete sense. So now, since we've spoken about say why and when, so how do you go about this side of things? So as of now, at this age, right? Obviously, we are not looking at as an average.
Sure.
We are not looking at a luxury apartment in the first go unless you are one of those exceptional people who have that kind of savings and who have started with a way higher
Yeah.
package above the average.
Yeah.
Right. So if I'm thinking about an average of say a certain amount, how can someone at our age go about developing that investment into real estate, like for their lifestyle and growing from there? So what would be your how?
So I'll go back to the same first question, fundamental question of buy versus rent.
Yeah.
I may not be the right person to say what is the right property for you based on your financial, because you will decide, right?
Right.
You may have money, but then how much you want to spend for that you have to decide.
True.
The second question is, a lot of people have aspiration. I know so many clients who have money, who can park that money, make the advance 20-30% and buy a 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom flat. They don't want to. They want to straight away buy a 3 bedroom flat. Yeah. Although there is a lot of action happening where people buy a property, let's say 1 bedroom, keep it for 2-3 years, flip it and buy 2 bedroom with that appreciation, then flip it, buy 3 bedroom, flip it, buy 4 bedroom. But many people don't want to do that. So classic case is, you can invest in a 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom which you don't want to stay. You can continue to stay in a rental property if you have that financial freedom. Let the asset increase that value. Once the increased value is closer to your perceived value of the purchase, like you want to buy a 3 bedroom and your value increase plus your additional saving for next whatever years is coming closer to that, you can buy 3 bedroom. So it all depends upon what is your perception. I will say a lot of people are very clear in terms of what kind of house they want to buy, because they have lived their life. And like someone who's stayed in a home with the parents or somewhere in the hometown, they know what kind of house they are looking at. So more or less, I think if you give them financial freedom, I mean, if you remove that parameter or variable of financial freedom, they were very clear. Sometimes they may have to make a compromise, like they may have to go little far to buy the property because the property location which they are looking at may not be coming in their financial budget, but
Right.
then they may have to buy. So let's say someone loves Koramangala or Indranagar. He don't want to go out of Koramangala or Indranagar, which is a good location.
Right.
But he don't have that much money to buy in Koramangala or Indranagar or CBD locations.
Right.
He may still stay on rent in that location, and with whatever surplus money he's generated or is accumulated, that can be used to invest in a smaller plot or a 1 BHK or a 2 BHK at a faraway location. So that affordability will come, because for them the pricing will be less, so the EMI will be less, and he can still pay the rent plus the EMI, which is smaller. Once that value increases with time, which happens like if you're going towards airport side in North Bangalore, we have seen pricing have gone upwards of around 15 to 20% every year annualized. So property prices have doubled, in like 3 to 4 years, 5 years. So that thing happened, then they have that additional delta. Maybe they can buy, I'm not saying they can buy in 3 years within Indranagar, but maybe closer to city.
Yeah. So
They
it's
can
basically
move
the diameter
of that radius. Yeah. So in that close proximity, it depends upon that. So it's not like anything blanket rent is bad or buy is bad. you have to decide what kind of property you want to buy. It makes sense to stay on rent if you have a fixed plan, if you're working on a plan financially, you have discipline, you want to have accumulation of that kind of money to buy your dream home. Makes sense. I have so many clients who are staying on a rent. They have one kid, two kid. They're still staying on rent. As per today's money, they can only buy a 2 bedroom, smaller one because of the financial constraint. But they need a 3 bedroom. They continue to stay in rent. They're accumulating the money, wealth. Probably they have bought a plot just for investment, and they're also saving money. Once they reach that value, they'll buy the 3 bedroom. So it makes sense. So I think the stage is very important. But more than that, your clarity on what they're looking at is very important.
Makes a lot of sense. There's something that I would like to address is that since we've been coming across a lot of financial influencers or people giving advices on finance, how to handle your finances. Some of them have made sense to me, some of them haven't as well. But in one of those situations, I felt that there is a lot of inclination or people driving it towards investing in, say, a mutual fund and stocks. I do it myself. I do not deny it makes sense. But a lot of drive is there towards, especially at this age group.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people are more seasoned in the other age groups,
Sure.
the further age groups. But in this age group, this is where we start doing it, and this is where our financial decisions have a lot of impact.
Of course.
Right. So it's not that I do not invest in these, but a lot of people go to the extent saying that should not buy a home unless you have enough money to a corpus that you have developed over a period of time, and you should invest in stocks and or mutual funds and things like that. Uh, One thing, so what is your thought about if these kind of people when they just suggest? So I don't feel there is a next you should go at an extreme, but I would want to understand what do you.
So
feel?
I would like to say I don't want to generalize. I mean, investment of any sort is good.
Right.
Whether investing in stock or mutual funds or in savings, in fixed deposits or in real estate, investment is always good.
Right.
But you have to be informed about it. So information can be collected from many sources, but you should be confident what you're collecting, what you're deciding is important. Stock market, I mean, data says not everyone makes money. I think more people lose money than make money, and the ratio is very high.
Yeah.
So of course people who are losing money are also same. I will not say they are idiot or stupid. They are also well educated, well informed, from good financial background. They have lost money, and same person, like I'll not say everyone only continuously loses money or make money. So someone who buy, let's say, 10 stock, not every stock will do well. Of course, some stock will do better, some will not do better. No one has any 100% clarity of what will happen.
Yeah.
So the easiest way, I think, what I have seen is you go to someone who knows that better than you, who understand the market. Makes sense. But I will not agree to what a lot of influencers say, just don't buy real estate and just invest everything in stock and it will give you, like, I heard somewhere they were saying rental yield is 2 to 4% and the interest or the investment return is 10 to 12% average. So you should do that. So stay on rent and invest. But 10 to 12%, I mean, no one is guaranteeing, right? So if you have someone who can guarantee that or who can say it will happen, go for it, no issue. But blanket generalizing may not make sense. Secondly, home, as we see in India, has a emotional connect. So it's an emotional decision. Even in India, even today with the new generation, a lot of people feel proud of owning a house. It's their asset. I have not seen anyone who says I'm proud of owning, let's say, 1,000 shares of a company, or 2,000 or 10,000 or 20,000 shares of company. It's an investment. It's a smart investment, but to feel that emotional proud, you have to have a tangible asset. So that's what we have seen. So I'm not saying anything is bad, or I mean, most of our team members also invest in stocks. So that's there. I think you also invest in stocks. So that's a good place to start with. But then it's very different. So I'll not say there's a competition. My theory is, what my understanding is, why a lot of influencers who are actually advocating for investment in stock is for them, if someone is buying a real estate, which is, let's say, 50 lakh ka real estate also, for them a 50 lakh is a very good money to be deployed in a stock market. For them it can be like 10 clients equivalent, right? So they may look at every sale in real estate as a opportunity lost. That may not be the right frame. That may not be the right mirror. Don't look at any investment in real estate. So in Bangalore, new launches happens which are 50,000 units a year. Even if you take 1 crore ka average price or 50 lakhs ka average price, it's a huge money.
Right.
So don't look at that money gone into real estate as an opportunity loss for stock market. That's not. Both are very different.
Yeah.
So owning a real estate is definitely an emotional aspect. I know so many people who feel proud who may own house. Now coming back to COVID, what happened in COVID? So people who had homes, they were okay. I mean, they didn't have any change in their lifestyle. But people who were living in rent, many people moved back to their hometown. So landlords were having a tough time during COVID.
Yeah.
They were having very tough time. The rental went down to almost 35% of the original value. It was a loss of 70% delta. But I didn't see any memes those time. People didn't have any meme on landlords because they were suffering. But then when the COVID situation improved and now companies are calling back the tenants, suddenly so many people have come for taking a rent. So of course rent is bounced back. In fact, it has gone more than what it was there before COVID also.
It's sort of covering that.
Covering the
cover
delta. Yeah. It's a market dynamics, right? No one can force you to pay that rent. It's up to you. If you want to take a rent, you take it rent.
And I feel the correction is coming back as well in the rental prices.
Rental prices also. So what happens, the classic case is now people who didn't buy a property are actually facing the heat. So that's why more and more sales are happening. I have sold more units to people who were staying on rent for like 5, 7, 10 years, who never have any plan to buy a property. They are buying because they want to be safe. You never know.
Yeah.
Any cousin of COVID can come, right? So
makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. So from my perspective, I feel having a balance of things.
Yes,
Yeah,
I agree.
I don't think real estate should be my only investment or stocks or mutual funds.
Perfect.
I feel a balance makes more sense.
Yeah.
I think that's what your derivation
That's what I'm
was,
saying. Yeah.
To this as well.
So I don't want to generalize that. Yeah.
And if someone can find that balance, that's the perfect mix. So yeah, in terms of this age group, because it was a major point. Thank you for covering that side. I wanted to also cover a certain further age group, which was starting from 35 to say a 50-year of age bracket.
Yeah.
Right. Beyond 50, it's considered mostly closer to the retirement segment and planning for that. But in this segment is somewhere where I feel a lot of people are going to the next stage of life.
Yeah.
Which is having a family or even kids, and some are already reaching at a teenage. Their kids reaching a teenage space as well. So a lot of things develop. The expenditures are very different from the previous age group that we just spoke about. So when all in this stage, renting and buying might be a very different perspective.
Yeah.
What is your perception on for these age group? What is your perception in terms of how or why should they rent or buy in this segment?
So I'll tell you few use case scenarios, whatever we have done, like based on our experience only.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to generalize, but whatever I'm telling is based on what we have seen in the market. I'm there in the market for 20 years. So whatever variety of cases I've seen, I just put some cases. They are people who are living in this city for long, and they are in that age bracket. Let's say they are in mid 30s, and they are the ones who may own a house already, but they still want to move to a different part of the city because of their kids' education or for workplace. Now, it's not easy. You may get a job, but you can't just sell a house and move to other. You don't know in new job how it will work. So let's say people who are living in, let's say, Koromangala, and they were working in Bilandur. Now they got a job in North Bangalore, Manyata Tech Park. So it may not happen that they'll immediately sell the house and buy a house in Manyata Tech Park, right? It doesn't make sense. Because their schools are different, the dynamics is different. Now for them in that age bracket also, they will rent it. That's one use case. There are so many cases where people in the same city have a house and have a rental property also. They are staying on rent, they have their own house. Makes sense.
Yeah.
I have seen places where, in the same society, people own a 2-bedroom, but because they have a family, because they are in that age bracket, 35 to 50, they need extra room. So they have rented the 2-bedroom in the same society, and they've taken another 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom in the same society on rent. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to move out of their society, but then their requirements have changed. As you said, teenage kids. Mostly today, the kids being kids, they have different requirements. every generation is different. So we have seen that. So now, and because of the COVID, there is education or study at home, work from home, those things are there. So there are use cases where even in that age bracket, it makes sense to rent. Maybe they are not ready to buy a 3 or 4 bedroom immediately.
Yeah.
They have bought a 2 bedroom. They have a financially good position, but suddenly the requirement has changed, so they will work towards it. It makes sense for them. But as and when the time is passing, like your kids are growing, your requirement may again change. So in that age bracket, what I have seen is people take very different approach. Someone may sell 2 bedroom and buy a 4 bedroom with the extra loan or whatever eligibility they have, or they have generated some wealth. Some may buy additional in real estate for their kids, like somewhere who is 35 age and he has a kid which is maybe 1 kid or 2 kid which are in the age bracket of 2 to 6. I'm just saying. Right. So they know in 10 years they may need a good chunk of money when their kids will go to college.
Right.
In those cases, I have seen people invest in plots which is outside the city, which are in affordable range, like they're attractive to invest, and they just park the money and wait for 10 years, or they buy a apartment which is little on a futuristic location, maybe towards airport on north side or upcoming areas where the rental will be less because the capital price is also less. So they do that, or they also buy in city area. Also depends upon the financial whatever condition they have, and they keep that money. So they don't want to sell 2 bedroom and buy 4 bedroom. They may buy additional 2 bedroom, keep it on rent, and then whenever required they can sell that to fund their kids education. Nowadays in metro cities, there is a big demand where people are sending their kids for graduation abroad, which is very expensive.
That you were talking about.
I was talking to a client, yeah. So I was talking to a client, and interestingly, he was telling, I just want to park my money in 2 or 3 different real estate assets, flexibility, so I can sell. Instead of buying maybe putting 3 crores in one property, a villa, he's saying I'll park 1 crore in 3 different properties, 2 bedroom, 3 different properties. So whenever required, I can sell one. Yeah. So flexibility is there. So he's saying, for his kids' education, for first year, second year fee in college, he may sell 1 unit.
Go abroad.
Go abroad. He was planning to go abroad. So he will sell 1 unit, which will take care of the first year, second year fee, and then he will sell another unit to take care of the third or fourth year fee. So it's a very interesting thing. But one thing I'll tell you, that age bracket, 35 to 50 year age bracket, they're well informed. They are well informed. They know everything about real estate, about investment. They are also into stock market and
lot more seasoned.
More seasoned. They're very clear. So we feel, for us, it's easier to do business with that age bracket because they already knew. So they have very specific questions.
Yeah.
They know what question they're asking. We don't have to educate them on the other aspects of the real estate. So that part is easy. But yeah, I agree in that segment also, there is a big demand for rental. I'll tell you another use case. Very senior executive in a top company. They have a property in Bombay. They have good property, 2 property probably. They are coming to Bangalore for a startup. Maybe they are not very sure. They are, because Bangalore is a hub of startup, one of the hub of startup, right? So they are coming, they are working here. They are seniors. They can take a luxury home. So they can we rented them a good luxury home for 2 lakh rent. They afforded that, right? They had that kind of bandwidth. Now someone who's paying 2 lakh rent can buy apartment also, but he said, no, I don't want to. I'm not sure whether I'll stay in Bangalore, I may go back to Bombay. Depends upon how the company evolves. Startups of course are very dynamic. It can go in any direction. Of course we pray everyone should go in a higher direction, but it depends. So we have those cases also. Someone who is seasoned, he has great properties in different cities, financially well off. They can rent up to 2 lakh, 3 lakh rent also, but they will take rent. They don't want. They can buy anytime. They can buy. They can buy good property in Bangalore also, but they may not buy. They want to test the waters. Because for that age bracket also, they have stayed in a city for 10 years, 15 years. They have some connect with the city. It's not easy.
Yeah, just to move.
So that segment is also there. But I think that segment is much more informed, and they are very clear in terms of what they want.
Also, because the uncertainty, they might not want to just buy because of them. If in case they move, the management of the property and things like that also becomes
difficult,
a little challenging at stages. There are ways like property management services and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it still is a little bit of a task. So in terms of why this is probably gives out enough
Just to
information.
add another interesting perspective, just because as you mentioned, I had a good conversation with one of the client. What he was saying is his perception, his take on the property was very different. So he was talking about what is the use of the real estate, whether he's using to build his asset or whether he's using to build the or as a consumption thing. So he gave a very interesting thing. So he's saying, when he was a bachelor, he used to order from Swiggy, Zomato, whatever food he used to order, and average spend was around $500 a day. He used to spend 15, 16, or 18,000 a month. He used to order every meal from outside. So that was it. Then he also tried over a period of time, because outside feed is not very healthy and you can't eat every day, right? I mean, with the age, of course, it changes. So he thought of maybe hiring a cook, bachelor also, but he took a cook, and then he told the cook whatever grocery need he don't want to buy, so cook will go and buy. In fact, now it's very easy. So he realized in the same money he was getting all the meals at home, better food.
The quality.
So it is consumption versus facilities. So if you just want consumption versus you want to build. So if you look at rental also, whether you want to take only rent is pure consumption. The only benefit you get, the tax benefit you get from rent is HRA. You get tax benefit in HRA in your salary.
Yes.
There's no other tax benefit. But if you buy a property, of course, there are more tax benefits, right? There are additional tax benefits. So whether you are looking at real estate for consumption perspective or creation, wealth creation or facilities perspective,
that can make
a lot of difference. Because as you mentioned, car, whether you want to have a car or you want to rent a car. So interestingly, normally when assuming you are just renting a car for morning pickup and evening drop, so you'll be staying in that car for only 1 hour, and the car will go, any car, whatever you choose. You may not have that use of the facility for long, so you may not feel that you are owning that, and you may miss it. But in house, it's different. Even if you're staying on rent, you spend almost 10 hours in a house. Probably more. Yeah, weekends are more and all that. So your relationship with the real estate is much higher. So the probability of buying an asset which you have deeper connect should be more.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the things that in India we follow as well. When we're buying a home, why it's more emotional is the family, the time spent over there, the memories and everything that comes along with it.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And why probably Indians are more attached to that.
Correct. We all have childhood memory of our house, our grandfather house. So
makes a lot of sense. So I think this segment is pretty a little more straightforward compared to the previous segment, if I'm not wrong. Also, so here we have spoken about again when and so how would someone approach this? So now in our the previous age group, there is a delta of say or years, 20 years straight that we have if we are taking a loan and and spending or buying an asset based on that.
Correct.
In this age group, say latter years where it's say 45 and above, it becomes a little more challenging, right? Because then that implies if you're taking a loan and all of that also has a financial pressure till a certain age, which is 55 almost, 50 to 55. I'm assuming at that age you're taking a better asset as well.
Yes.
Right. So the implication is proportional to the previous age group. Right. So in that stage, how ideal is it to take that kind of a pressure, and should they think of a different perspective there, or should they can go ahead with this? What would your feel?
My experience is that age bracket, like 45 and upwards, they are very clear in terms of their capability of earning money, how much they can generate. So they have no perception, or don't have any confusion on how much they can earn. They are very clear for next 10 years how much they will work, how much they will earn. So they have better clarity. Someone who is at 25, of course, he's very ambitious and he wants to earn millions and millions of rupees, but he is not sure because how he will evolve as a professional, his competence, his capability, how it will be built. But someone who is 45 is already built capabilities. He is already competent. He'll know more in terms of how much he can generate revenue for next 10 years, because he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
At that age, mostly people don't switch sectors or job or too
drastically.
much. Yeah, they build their competence beyond for 20 years and they want to capitalize. That's the time they're capitalizing it.
Right.
And they know what they are looking at, and of course they'll go for a much better product, maybe a luxury or a premium product. So they will be very clear. But loan is not something which will be hindrance for them. They
will
won't
be more prepared.
They'll be more prepared for that, and probably for them, access to better loan products will be much easier, because they will have a profile.
Yeah.
So I think makes sense. Maybe they can capitalize, and at that age, I don't think they'll take for 20 years, or they would like to stay for 20 years. I think they'll be able to finish the loan much faster, maybe within 10 years or 7 years or whatever, because they will be prepared like that. Right. And of course they will have some other assets also. So I think to take that decision will be much easier for them.
Yeah, I think I did not consider the asset side of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, makes sense. Now coming, so yeah, this is your main two segments where people are, on an upward cycle of life where they're growing and things are happening and new developments are changing, around their life, lifestyle,
Correct.
and family and everything, right? So now, when we're talking about a segment where it's beyond 50, right? That's where, say, our parents would be in this age, and they're moving towards the retirement phase, and throughout they've lived a good chunk of their lives. Right. So when they're moving to that segment, I feel the meaning of real estate changes drastically over there. Right. For them, it's a place where they call their it's a home to them, and it's their own. There's a feeling of ownership more than we thinking today of it as an asset. Right, of something that will grow and develop. They are looking at it as a home, and where their family is. So how different, or why, what is the kind of implication? I would not go to why would you rent and buy over there, because more or less at that age, I feel people would have their things settled. Or whatever path they've taken.
Correct.
Right. But what is the kind of implication that at that age group, while you have lived a life in rentals or you've taken a decision to buy, what is the kind of implications that we can feel? There's obviously a broad understanding that even I can understand, that owning a home gives us that comfort. But what would your take be?
So I'll tell you a very interesting thing. It's very valid questions. I'm not going into the kind of societies or societal changes which is happening, but what is happening is, I have so many cases or transactions which we have done for senior citizens who are upwards of 60 plus, and they had a beautiful asset, like beautiful house, beautiful asset, which is a big house, maybe 4 or 5 bedroom or a bungalow or a villa or something. And for whatever reasons, their kids are not in the same town. They are settled abroad most of the time. Maybe in different countries, 1 kid, 2 kid, whatever. They are mostly all abroad, and they are staying alone. And because they were staying with kids, like just before the kids moved out, they needed that house. For them, the need has changed. They don't need, and for them at that age, probably a bigger villa or a 5 or a 6 bedroom or a 4 bedroom unit may not be required. So I have done so many transactions where these people, although they are attached to their property, they have the memories and all that, but for simple functional reason, because if they have a clarity, their kids will not come back to the town or to India or whatever, they have decided to either sell part, if it's possible to split, or sell it fully. We have done so many transactions where they have exited the property and bought a smaller property where they are comfortable with their circle of friends or their connect or social connect. And in those cases, they would like to also go closer to airport, because most of the kids are abroad. So, it makes sense for the kids. Whenever they're coming back, they can just move. I mean, now city, Bangalore, again, it's not so popular for traffic. There are so many memes happening because of traffic jam. So for that age bracket, makes sense if they are not very, probably if they're not using that real estate. I think we have seen they have exited the real estate and they've taken a more suitable real estate as per their needs in a different location also. In fact, now there are a lot of senior housing which are coming, senior livings which are there. They are getting a lot of traction. We have done so many transactions, so they are very very customized because which will take care of their health, the food, safety, security, all kind of
I've heard
needs.
they go to the extent of having ambulance
Yeah,
ready service as well
they
if
are.
anything happens in
Yes,
that
yes.
scenario.
They're managed services, like
Yeah.
they're a managed hotel kind of thing.
Right.
So that's there. So that's that age bracket. They're very clear, and we have done like people work throughout their life to build the biggest asset, and toward the fag end they try to exit and go back to the smaller unit. So they need changes with time
Very
and the
interesting.
family. So,
Yeah. Well, it's a very different approach, yeah. Especially in a city like Bangalore, where
yeah,
there's a lot of younger crowd and people already living here, people moving out from here.
yeah, yeah,
This being the tech hub and people moving abroad.
abroad.
Because
Yeah.
a lot of them, a good chunk of them, are usually
Yeah.
more into tech.
Also, I think it's also part of their family succession planning. Like, probably they are at that stage where they want to be very clear how their whatever assets they have, how it will be split or distributed among kids. So it makes sense. So, maybe we have seen cases where someone has sold the bigger property and bought 2 or 3 different apartments for different kids. So that's also part of the family planning. There's no negative thing about that. It's better. It's a smart planning which people do. So.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of
Yeah.
logic there. Is there anything unique? Yeah, you've seen one unique thing was people moving out,
Yeah.
their kids moving up to abroad,
Yeah.
and them moving to a smaller space, which is just easier to manage. I feel.
Yeah.
Because maintaining a say a
And not only buying,
five
they
bedroom.
moving on rent also at that stage. Yeah.
Oh. But why would they leave
Managed
the
service.
comfort of
So
this is managed?
managed, like they're moving to senior living on rent. They don't want to buy that, and these
Ah.
facilities are available, so they can pay that money. They are little bit expensive. The rental is little bit expensive. It will be probably, I can say, 30%, 40% more than the regular rental, but it's managed.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have sold their assets, everything, and moved to managed spaces, which will take care of their needs, healthcare needs, safety needs, food needs. So yeah,
Fair enough.
it's a full cycle. So
Yeah. That's great. I think there's a lot of clarity in terms of different age groups because I feel this was one of the perspectives that a lot of people have missed while capturing a rent versus buy.
Yeah.
Understanding different segments of life or different stages of life.
Yeah.
One thing. So what I take away from here, what you mentioned was taking a decision at different age groups is obviously different, but it should the perspective value of the property once it crosses the threshold is when you should take a decision
Yes.
to buy
Yes.
from rent, right?
Your
That's-
perceived rental value of the property, once it crosses the threshold value, you should buy. If it is lesser than
Yes.
threshold value, you should stay on rent. Simple.
Yeah.
And as far as your Excel calculation is concerned, I have a very interesting client who has showed me the calculation in terms of how much he's getting the salary today, how much he think he'll get next year, next to next year, for next 10, 15 years. He's done a projection of all the salaries, and based on whatever switches he'll make, he has derived it at net present value today. And then he told me, I want to buy a house which will match this cash flow. So you have Excel is very interesting, good or
There's
bad.
a lot of I have friends who've done
Yeah,
their entire
yeah.
life planning based on an
Excel,
Excel sheet.
yeah.
So I that it's good to have a plan.
Yeah.
It's good that gives you a platform.
But
to
you should
start
be
with.
flexible also to
But yeah.
correct it.
There's a lot of things that go around as well.
And you have to work for it.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But so thank you so much for giving so much clarity and a
Yeah.
little different perspective in terms of experiences. Also to just add, Sandeep sir has been into the real estate industry for over 22 years and has done a lot of work towards residential market and has experienced probably a lot of clients. He's one of my favorite people to talk about experiences because he interacts with a lot of clients. So yeah, thank you so much for your entire feedback and understanding of this entire topic and rent versus buy. I hope everyone who were listening to the podcast got something relevant from the podcast, and we would love to hear more about what you feel about this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to know when you will buy your real estate. When you are buying your first house.
Saving for it, sir. Saving for the.
I'm hearing for last 2 years. High time you should buy.
I will. I will. I
कौन से
am
location में
on part.
कौन से location में मिली?
Location is not specific, but I would want it to be.
I told you that property last year, it has increased double now. So you are losing, you are sitting on an opportunity loss.
My investment logic is different. I would be investing in somewhere where
Yeah.
my family also can come in, and it should not be too far. I want to live in that first property. as
You
of now.
decide when you buy it. I'll get you the property.
I will. Who else can I go to? But yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.